We have 2 minutes.
Is that 9:30?
We have 1 minute. Actually, I do show 9:30 now.
Okay. All right, good morning.
Good morning.
We will call the regular board meeting of the Western Municipal Water District to order at 9:30. And may we please have roll call?
Thank you. Good morning. Director Gardner,
I am here.
Director Torres,
Here.
Director Denstedt.
I'm present. Good morning.
Good morning. Director Risby.
Good morning. I'm here.
Good morning. President Roten.
And I am here as well.
Thank you. President Roten, you do have a quorum today.
All right, thank you. I would like to invite up Paula Mora, Senior Customer Experience Representative, Communications and Customer Experience Department, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to public comments. Do we have any public comments this morning?
President Roten, I see no request to speak in the audience. I've received no written cards. However, we did receive one written comment through the district portal, and that has been provided to you on the dais, along with staff comments. If the public wishes to see that comment, they're welcome to contact board secretary at wmwd.com, and I will be happy to share it.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we will move on to presentations, and I'd like to introduce Adrienne Beatty from ACWA, otherwise known as Association of California Water Agencies, and she has a presentation for us.
Is that working? Here we go.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, President Rotten. So, as you stated, I'm Adrienne Beatty. I am the Chief Executive Officer of ACWA JPIA. So we provide a wide variety of insurance type coverages and risk management resources to about 400 districts throughout the state, Western being one of them. You are one of our founding members. You've been with us since the very beginning in 1979 and also participate in all of our pooled programs, property, liability, work comp, and employee benefits, and a variety of our group purchase programs as well, cyber, excess crime coverage, and fiduciary liability. What I'm here to present to you today is our President's Special Recognition Award. So what this is every year we give this out to members.
Zoom meeting. Change screen but meeting tab. Western Water sign in button. Enter. Audio now unmuted.
I know,
Audio setting.
I know.
Stop my
That's
video.
okay, we can take things on the fly. Well, actually, my voice sounds terrible today because I was at midnight at Disneyland last night until midnight with my children, so my voice is quite hoarse. But anyway, our annual award is presented. President's Special Recognition Award is presented every fall at our fall summit. In order to earn this award, you have to have a loss ratio of less than 20%. Over a period of 3 years. So it's quite a significant achievement. It's not just achieving that for 1 year, it's achieving that for 3 years consecutively or on average throughout those years. We also provide this award for property, liability, and workers' compensation, and I'm very proud to award Western with this award for all 3 of those programs this year. To give you some context for that, you are one of our larger members. We consider a large member, about 18% of our members are considered large. That's a payroll above $5 million. You fall within that category. It's quite impressive to achieve a loss ratio below 20% across all of those programs for a district of your size. Just by virtue of your size, you would imagine that there is a certain frequency of claims that occur, particularly on the work comp side or the liability side. But you have a fantastic loss record, and you have for quite some years. You are a full participant in many of our programs. That leads to, you really live and breathe risk management and what that entails for the safety of your constituents, the safety of your employees, the effectiveness of your water systems and maintaining them and investing in capital improvement projects. You're very active in terms of President Rotten is our appointed director to the JPIA board. All 400 of our members can appoint one representative from their board to sit on our board, and Director Denstead sits on our liability committee, so that's an additional commitment that she makes to ensure that that program has effective governance input from our membership as we set rates and determine coverages and policy for that program. You're very active in many other of our programs. We have a professional development program. Currently you have 10 enrollees in that program and 7 graduates. One of your graduates is here in the audience with us. He's also a graduate of our leadership program, James Chatwin. Our leadership program, I really highly encourage you to put as many employees through that as possible. It's a year-long program. It's quite a commitment, but it is focusing on the skills, the softer skills that you need to be effective as a leader. I've gone through that program myself. It's fantastic, and we're very proud to have James as one of our graduates of that program as well. So I can't say enough about your district. We value you incredibly, and you're doing everything that you can to be as effective as possible in managing your risk. So really, congratulations.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? No?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Would you have a
And I
photo?
think, the staff does this job. This is absolutely a reflection of our people, our workforce, our elite workforce that we have here at the district, and without them, we could not achieve what this is. So kudos to staff, the general manager, everybody that plays a role in this. This is really quite an achievement. I sit on this and I look at all of the claims that are filed, the liabilities, the things that we have to participate in, and see money go out the door sometimes to cover things that are unfortunate for other agencies, and we are not one of them. So that is just really the exciting part of this, and it should be recognized and acknowledged so that our customers understand the phenomenal job that staff do in order to achieve this. So thank you so much for coming down here, and I hope you had a fabulous time at Disney.
We did. It was my kids' first time. They're 6 and 9, and so it was quite the
Oh, that
experience.
had to be an experience. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I'm surprised you have any voice at all.
Oh, yeah, I've had a lot of cough drops this morning.
We'd like to get a photo if the board would come down with Adrian.
Okay.
So unfortunately, these awards aren't framed, but do you want them to each hold one, or?
we ready? Okay.
No, I don't know what that was. I don't know what that.
This is from the-
I would like to echo Adrian's comments about our safety programs. James and his team and HR as a whole do a great job of implementing the programs and staying on top of them. And you know, when I first got to Western, I'd only been here a couple months, and Rod Lamond was sitting as the executive representation on the safety committee, and he came to me and he said, yeah, someone at the board meeting today said that executive management doesn't really care about safety. And so for 10 years, we've been changing that dynamic, and it's super important, and James does a great job with his staff, and you know, it is in our DNA to operate safely, and that's why we're able to meet these loss requirements or minimizing losses, because we think about it in everything we do. So congratulations to you, James. Thank you.
Good. I didn't know Adrian was going to sneak out. I don't always think as quickly on my feet as I wish I did, but I wanted to share with her that I have enjoyed, am enjoying being the JPIA representative. So it means that I go a day early up to the Aqua Conference or out or wherever they happen to be that time. And they just put together like a really good 24-hour program where they usually have a couple of workshops and presentations, and you get to meet some of the other members. And my favorite thing is going through the agenda and looking for our name in all the different places where the awards are. So I've really enjoyed that experience. But, okay, so we'll move on to the consent calendar. Any questions or items to be pulled?
I'll move approval.
Okay. We have a motion and a second, and whenever you're ready, we'll have the vote.
Director Gardner.
Aye.
Director Dinstead.
Aye.
Director Torres.
Yes.
Director Rizvi.
Aye.
President Roten.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries 5-0.
Okay, and Mr. Miller, any items to be added to the agenda?
There's nothing to add today.
Okay. So that brings us to item 8, the action agenda 8A, award a construction contract for the Orange Crest Pipeline Replacement Project and a professional services contract for construction management and inspection of the Orange Crest Pipeline Replacement Project and the Lake Matthews Pipeline Replacement Project. And I understand that we possibly have the president of Pacific West Underground, David Durenberger, and as well as Kevin, and I am not going to get this name correct, Alamolhoda. Hopefully I'm close.
Alamoda, yes. You did good.
Okay. Are they on Zoom?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. And let's see, we will welcome Sonia Huff to give the presentation.
Good morning, directors and members of the board. Yes, so we'll start with the Orange Crest Pipeline Replacement Project. So staff is requesting approval for the construction contract and construction management services for the Orange Crest Pipeline Replacement Project, 311A, and the Lake Matthews Pipeline Replacement Project, 311B. So as part of Western's commitment to delivering safe and reliable water service, replacing aging infrastructure is essential. The 7,715 linear feet of pipeline included in this project are among the oldest in our system, requiring frequent repairs due to leaks and corrosion. To ensure long-term reliability and efficiency, these steel pipelines will be replaced with modern PVC pipelines, improving water pressure, flow rates, and fire protection capabilities. To move forward, we're requesting the board approve the following: a budget increase in the amount of $4,755,500, raising the total project budget for W311A to $5.2 million as planned under the Linear Asset Management Program for fiscal year 24-25. And also awarding a $3,182,193 construction contract to Pacific West Underground of Yucaipa, California, who was the lowest responsible bidder selected through a competitive process. And finally, awarding a $599,866 professional service contract to LAE Associates for construction management and inspection of both the Orange Crest and Lake Matthew pipeline projects. This project aligns with Western Water's strategic priorities for superior service and financial stewardship, ensuring efficient water delivery while reducing long-term maintenance costs. As mentioned, on Zoom, we have David Durenberger, who's the president of Pacific West Underground, the contractor, and also Fred Alamagoda, who's the president of LAE, who will serve as the CM and inspection for the project. As well as in our audience, we have Doug McCartney, who's the project manager. So I appreciate your time and consideration and welcome any questions.
Any questions from the board?
I just have one quick question, just to be clear. Where this is to award a contract for the Orange Crest pipeline, and then the construction management for both the projects.
Correct.
Because it's the same firm.
Correct,
Okay.
yes.
I move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
second.
Okay. And go ahead, Director Denstedt.
I just wanted to know if you said everyone is online?
Correct,
correct?
yes, on Zoom.
I would love to hear if they have any comments, questions, or concerns regarding doing this project or completing this on time and on budget.
So that would be David Durenberger or
Don't everybody
Fred
go all at once, right?
Alamagoda.
Are they all online?
Yes, this is Fred Almahada from LAE Associates. No, we have worked with the district before, and we have completed at least 15 similar projects in the last 3 years. And we have worked with your designers, so we believe that the time allowed and the plans and specs are compliant enough, and we shouldn't have any problem.
Perfect. That's exactly what I love to hear. Thank you. Anybody else?
Is David Durenberger online?
No, he is not. We have Kevin Barnes,
Kevin Barnes?
and
with-
there's a phone caller, unidentified phone caller.
Okay. Anyone with Pacific West Underground available?
No.
All right,
Okay.
can we go?
Yeah.
Are we good?
Are we
So
ready
we're
to call
good,
for a
right?
vote?
Yes, yes.
I have a motion and a second. So I'll call for the vote. Director Gardner.
Aye.
Director Torres.
Yes.
Director Denstedt.
Aye.
Director Rizvi.
Aye.
President Roten.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries 5-0.
Okay, thank you, and, whoops, and thank you to those that were online. Item B, award a construction contract for the Lake Matthews Pipeline Replacement Project.
Yes.
Sonia.
So similarly to the previous one, this is a request to approve the construction contract as well as the budget increase for the Lake Matthews Pipeline Replacement Project. As part of Western Water's commitment to safe and reliable water service, this project addresses 7,378 linear feet of aging pipeline in the Lake Matthews area, including Barton Street, Rawhide Lane, and Rancho Viejo Drive. These pipelines have experienced frequent leaks due to deteriorating asphalt wrap steel pipelines. Replacing them with modern PVC pipelines, which again will improve water distribution, enhance service reliability, and increase flow rates for fire suppression. So to move forward, we request approval of a budget increase in the amount of $4,755,500, raising the total project budget to $5.2 million, an increase of $4,061,000 to the capital improvement and facilities plan, shifting funds from the fiscal year 25-26 budget to the current budget 24-25 fiscal year to align with project scheduling. And finally, awarding the construction contract in the amount of $3,946,624.50 for the construction contract to J&L Constructors of Huntington Beach, who was the lowest responsible and responsive bid through a competitive process. Available on Zoom, hopefully, is Bryson Miller, who's the CFO for J&L Constructors. And again, Doug McCart, no, he's not online, okay. And Doug McCartney, who's the project manager, maybe he could speak for them. So happy to answer any questions.
Okay, before we take any questions on this item, I believe I forgot to ask for public comments on the previous item.
We have no public comments for either item.
Okay,
Thank
thank you. Any questions or discussion?
Question.
Director?
So you said shifting from one budget year to the other. So this is actually budgeted, we're just moving funds around. I just want to make sure that we're clear on that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're accelerating
We're accelerating.
our plan on this. This was always in the budget, so I just want to make sure that that's
Yes.
very clear is what
Yeah.
we said, so.
Yeah, it might throw everyone off that we're actually going faster than we said we would.
No, exactly. That's what I'm trying to get the point, that the money is actually there and that we're accelerating the project and getting it done faster and sooner than anticipated. So kudos to staff for doing that. And again, the same question, I just want to make sure that we're able to complete this accelerated program, right, project on time and on budget. And hopefully there's somebody online that's there? No, nobody?
there's not.
Mr. Miller's not online. Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I would like to say also kudos, but we received a public comment earlier, and it's not in response to this, but I do want to just acknowledge that, for what is, 7,300 square feet, a little bit over a mile in square footage, costs us $5.2 million and then another $5 million. We do these things to avoid any issues, and this is significant investment for such a short amount of mileage. And so I think it's a success story, and like Director Dunstead said, the fact that we're able to do it sooner than anticipated is huge. So I'll move the item.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Whenever you're ready, may we have the vote, please?
Excuse me, I'm having a few technical difficulties. Thank you for your patience. Director Gardner.
Aye.
Director Torres.
Yes.
Director Dinstedt.
Aye.
Director Rizvi.
Aye.
President Roten.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries 5-0.
Okay, then we will move on to item C. Approve project budget and award a professional service contract for the Meridian Building Climate Control Project Design.
Okay.
And Sonia again.
Me again. Okay. So I'm here to present the proposed Meridian Building Climate Control Project, which aims to replace the outdated and failing HVAC system here at our headquarters building. This project is critical to ensuring a reliable, energy-efficient, and cost-effective climate control system for our employees and visitors. The current system, which includes 4 50-ton air conditioning units, a boiler, and variable air volume boxes, has experienced persistent issues such as leaks, electrical failures, and inefficiencies. These problems have led to high maintenance costs, increased energy consumption, and an uncomfortable work environment. To address this, in 2023, we engaged Black & Veatch to conduct a comprehensive assessment, which confirmed that replacing the system is the best long-term solution. To move forward, we're requesting the board's approval for a project budget in the amount of $535,000, which includes design, construction support, and contingency funds. Additionally, we recommend awarding the professional service contract to IDS Group in the amount of $258,350 to provide engineering, design, and construction support. IDS Group was selected through a competitive process based on their expertise and ability to deliver an efficient and well-integrated system. This project aligns with Western Water's commitment to financial stewardship by ensuring reliable system that reduces long-term operational costs. Once the design phase is complete, we'll return to the board with construction cost estimates and a request for funding approval. And I do know that Kevin Barnes, who's the project manager with IDS Group, is online on Zoom. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Oh, and I'm sorry, we also have Cesar Carrillo, who is the project manager for Western, in the room.
Okay, I hear your microphone going off there, so
Yes.
I'm guessing that you have a question.
I have a few little questions. This has been an ongoing problem, and in the summertime, boy, it's been really uncomfortable in this building. So is this actually going to solve everything we want it to? Because we've been doing Band-Aids for a while, so this is going to take care of it?
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
That is my goal, and all of your user feedback
we
will
ask?
be much appreciated, so I know what the problems are.
Okay, so yeah, there's been a number of problems, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that would be willing to give you exactly what those are. And then the other thing I want to make sure is we're getting a warranty with this, right? Is there
Well,
a standing
wait,
warranty on this?
So
This
remember, this is a design. You're awarding design contract.
Okay,
So,
okay, then my.
Mr. Barnes is in charge of the design. We'll be coming back with
With
a construction
equipment.
contract, and then we'll have a warranty on the construction contract for our standard period of time.
Okay,
On
I
the
just-
construction contract.
I just want to make sure that as we're going forward on this, that's the things that we're looking for, because this has just kind of been a thorn in our side, trying to do the repairs and trying to make this system work.
Yeah, it's
And-
outdated and, you know,
Yeah.
with the,
Well,
with the black
remember,
and beige.
when we bought this building,
Yes.
it already had the air conditioning system. We don't think it was designed for this use.
Yes,
And remember, this was a spec building.
Yes.
So they weren't necessarily building it to suit the tenants very well. And we've been living it and making it work since day one. And our
Absolutely.
staff has done a fabulous job with all the duct tape and baling wire and every trick that they could
Yes.
possibly come up with. Because
Yes.
this is very costly. And we've been putting this cost off for a really long time. And so we're finally to the point, because we've got other electrical challenges, that we got to get it all fixed.
no, absolutely, and it's been very uncomfortable for staff at times in the building in the summer months when we've run fans all over the building to try to keep things cool for people to be able to do what they need to do without heat exhaustion. So appreciate everything that we can do on this and hope this solves our problem. So with that, I'm happy to move this item.
I'd like to add one item. This, as Craig said, this is for design. It will be some time before construction happens. We do have to live here. There will be additional maintenance that is required, and we will have an item coming to the board in the near future about maintenance.
Okay, so then that begs the question, what is our timeline on this?
It's going to be probably 2 years. To design? No, to get implementation done.
Oh, boy, okay. All right, well, that accelerated program that we did on pipeline construction, hopefully we can do on HVAC stuff, so.
We're
I'm just
personally
saying.
vested in this.
Well,
so.
we got to,
Yeah,
we can't,
Right.
we can't award contracts till we have design done.
no, I
So
get
we
it.
got to get
I
the
get
design
it.
done, and then we got to go through our public works bidding process, so there's only so much that can be done.
No, and I get it, so I just hope that we get some kind of a consistent servicing of the building so that it's neither extremely hot or extremely cold in here, so just saying. Thank you.
Go ahead, Director.
So, the total project budget is $535,000. It includes both design and construction, or no? It's just this, okay.
Yeah, construction support, meaning that they will provide assistance engineering, design assistance during construction.
Construction, okay, all right, okay,
Director Torres, did you have? Oh, okay.
all right.
And I have to say, when I was first reading the staff report and I saw the numbers always just jump off the page at me. And I was like, wow, this is really reasonable to replace the whole AC. And then I realized, no, that's for design. So, did we have any public comments on this item?
We do not.
Okay. Then-
Move to approve.
I did that.
Oh, did you?
That's what I'm saying, she said that.
I did the first.
Second.
Director Torres is the second.
I missed that too.
Director Gardner. Director Torres.
Yes.
Director Dinstedt. Director Rizvi.
Aye.
President Roten.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, directors.
Okay. All right, and we will move on to item D, receive and file Making Conservation a California Way of Life Urban Water Use Objective. Michelle Adams.
I am so honored to join the Sonia show today. Michelle Adams, your Customer Experience Manager. I'm here to go through a quick presentation with regards to our Urban Water Use Objective reporting. Okay. Perfect. Yay, thank you. Next slide, please. So this is a receive and file item about our January reporting of our urban water use objective compliance. I'm going to quickly go over what the urban water use objective is. We're going to talk about the regulatory requirements and timeline, do a quick reporting snapshot, and then I'll share some of the support tools that helped us get there. I do want to remind you all that this was brought to the ComGov committee, so I'm going to go through a little quickly, but if you have questions, feel free to stop me or wait till the end and we can address those. Next slide, please. So the new urban water use objective is essentially the agency level water budget with a timeline-driven conservation mandate. So as you can see from this complex calculation, we are utilizing aggregate water use across various areas of our service area to calculate our aggregate water use objective. Next slide, please. The challenge with the urban water use objective is that it's a difficult moving target. So as you can see, we are focused here on a standard that is consistently moving. So whether it's water loss, whether it's residential indoor or outdoor, we are looking at significant changes between now all the way to 2040. So what if I told you that the board's support was what put us in a position that made us successful in achieving compliance for the urban water use objective in the first year?
No way.
We did it. Yay! So I really want to share with the board how exciting it is to be a partner with a board of directors that has forward-thinking methodologies and how we can save water across our service area, but then also forward-thinking investments in the programming that we need to get there. So as you can see with the moving target that we have ahead of us, that programming is not going to stop. So I'm going to ask you guys to continue to maintain that open mind over the next few years as we start looking at what this looks like for all of our customers throughout our service area. Next slide, please. One of the main areas we're going to be focusing on and what really helped us in this current reporting period is our commercial customers. So we have a separate piece of legislation, Assembly Bill 1572, that is really defining how we can use potable drinking water on irrigable areas. So this is one area that we are focusing on heavily with our public agencies and our commercial customers. And why are we doing that? Because we want to preserve our efficient residential lifestyles. We want to reduce any unnecessary requirements for our residential lifestyles, and so we're focusing on the areas of bigger impact. This is great because it aligns with state regulation, but it helps us achieve that aggregate water use. Next slide, please. So this is our wonderful reporting snapshot. We can do a little cheers here if you would like. But we did not only meet compliance, we exceeded the regulation, which meant that we came in so far under the regulation that we really have opportunity to take some time to look at our programming and decide where do we need to ramp up, where do we need to do some more customer education, and what are those areas of opportunity that are going to have the biggest impact when it comes to water use reduction. As I mentioned, we're looking at our CII outdoor as that big opportunity. You guys are going to see that through this next rate adjustment process. So as we go through that, again, keep an open mind of how we can really work with our public agencies, work with our commercial partners so that we can preserve the residential lifestyles that we have in our local area. Next slide, please. And we're doing this through a number of support tools. So we are engaging not just as Western Water, but across the region to work with Eagle Aerial Solutions. They have a water view dashboard. They do all of the aerial imagery for the state. That gives us unique insight into what the state's requirements are, what the state's calculations are, and how we're trending with those calculations. We're also engaging with eSource companies. You guys might remember about a month ago, you guys approved a contract for that with our retail agencies. This is a huge opportunity. Water loss is a great area across our entire retail and wholesale service area for where we can bring that aggregate water use down when we can really track and mitigate that unbilled water use. And then finally, you guys just on the consent calendar approved the ongoing contract with Maureen Besnick and Associates. She is a critical piece to understanding regulatory compliance, understanding where our programs can be enhanced and how we can make them more effective and optimize water savings through those programs. One thing that isn't on here that I do want to highlight is our partnership with Metropolitan. So we also do our best to optimize funding through the Met Member Agency Funding Program to make sure that we are utilizing those funds before we're tapping into our own dollars or requesting our retail agencies to use funding for this statewide mandate. So the goal really is to draw down on those regional resources before we start putting in our own resources. Again, it's an offset that saves our ratepayers money. It's an offset that saves our wholesalers money as well. Next slide, please. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
1 second, sorry, I'm just jotting something down. Do we have any questions?
No. Move to approve.
Okay, any public comment?
No public comment.
Okay, and it is receive and file, so do we need still a
We do
motion
still need a
to
vote.
receive and file? Okay, and I don't know, I probably shouldn't ask this, but I noticed it's only 1 year until the next lower increment. So do we have a comparison of, like, obviously, we did great this year, what it might look like next year?
Yeah, so we have an amazing data team in the customer experience arena, and what we've been able to do is really forecast what the water reductions look like and what we need to do to achieve those water reductions. Water loss is one of the biggest areas to achieve that water use reduction requirement. So you're going to see us doing a lot more work on the water loss side of the house, as well as our CII programming, to make sure that we maintain a nice buffer with that regulatory compliance requirement.
I'll add into that. So we're not as worried about next year as we are 10 years out.
Yes.
So when we have to get down to 42 gallons per person per day, think about how you're cutting, because we're barely at 55. Every single person has to cut their indoor water, every person, so that's everyone in your house, has to cut their indoor water use by 25%. So what are you doing in your own house? So if you have 4 people in there, you're cutting a lot of water out.
Whole person.
So how are we going to get our customers to do that? That's a big issue for me. And so we're working with Michelle all the time. She's been presenting to our executive group, I think maybe we're going on the 3rd or the 4th time now, how we're going to achieve long-term compliance with the program. And so we're thinking very carefully about how the customers are going to respond. They're not going to be happy, most likely, about the 42 gallon. So then we're looking at other compliance opportunities that we have to meet in other ways. And so water loss is what Michelle's talking about today. So that all goes into the formula of compliance with the state. So if you can reduce water loss, you don't have to necessarily hit the 42 gallons per person per day indoor. If you can exceed outdoor water use efficiencies, that'll also count towards the, so it's an overall compliance number. So we're looking at the most efficient ways for us to meet that with the least impact to our customers.
Okay.
Because we don't want a stream of customers coming in here saying, this is outrageous. And unfortunately, Michelle's been paying attention statewide, and Michael's been paying attention statewide as these regulations, and we've been sending comment letters to the state board, and we've testified, and we sent staff up there to actually testify about how this blanket conservation program doesn't work for the Inland Empire, but it was passed. So now we're like, okay, now what do we do to be in compliance? This is very complicated, and it's gonna hit our customers pretty hard. And so we're trying to figure out how to mitigate that and be successful without having a bunch of irate customers in front of our board.
Right. Well, and
So this is the first step.
Yes.
And we're doing great at the first step.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, this is all based on all the hard work we've been doing since 2010 to get here. But now it's like, you know, kind of turbocharged from here on. And so how do we stay in front of it?
Well, and it sounds from what you have said, like next year's goals when it goes to 47, right, next year?
It's
Yep.
already
Yeah.
at 47.
Can you,
It's already at,
Jessica, can you bring back
for 2025,
the
Yes.
table that shows the
yeah.
increasing compliance measures?
So what we met was the 55, right?
Correct.
Or we
So-
exceeded.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that one.
so
Actually.
our reporting on January 1st,
one, yeah.
2025 was for the 23-24 fiscal year. So next year, we'll report January 1st, 2026 on the 47. So that's where it does get a little dicey, but I promise you, we are doing all of the data work in the background to understand what the water use reductions are that we need, and then we'll be coming to the board to partner with you guys to make sure that we're maintaining those forward-thinking methodologies to make sure that we stay ahead of the curve.
And then if you look at the green numbers for 2035, it drops from a 0.8 factor to a 0.63 factor for outdoor water use, both residential and commercial. That's a big leap. And so we're trying to figure out how we're going to get there, let alone the 42 in
Right.
2030.
Right, no, I get it. So here, I'm just gonna share my hope. 47, I think, I see the work and the data that's collected and the thinking that goes in the strategic thinking that goes behind all of this. And I love the partnership that the board has with our staff. I think I have confidence that 47, who knows? I don't have a crystal ball, but it sounds like it could be doable. My hope is that by the time this 42 kicks in, that there's legislation. And I know, and maybe I'm looking for the easy way out, although legislation is not easy. But I'm going to hope that the state will realize through this process what is being done, that agencies are complying as best as they can, and we're able to show that, we can document it, and it's not just us, it'll be up and down the state, although they might not do it as well as we do. So that's my hope, is that in that 5-year increment, that other variables come into play. But that said, I realize this is the regulation and that we have to do our best to comply. So I'm not saying we should just forget about it after 47, but I'm just gonna keep that hope on that target, especially in 2030, and then going forward, as Mr. Miller said, on the outdoor changes as well. Again, a lot can happen between now and then. So good on us for making this priority, working with our retail agency. I mean, all of it. It's incredible. I have had a lot of frustration over this legislation, and I have to put that aside and be more concentrating on what the solutions would be. And that's just me personally. It's like, I don't want to comply to that. I'm going to tell you, just me personally, but I know as an agency, it's our responsibility, and it's the law, so we have to do it. But anyway, so thank you for that presentation. Were there any other questions or comments?
Well, first, a note. I think Mr. Miller just got another directive to try to come up with new legislation on this. So, so why not kick off number 2?
This is not, it's actually technically not a law, it's a regulation
Right.
by the State Water Resources Control Board, so I guess you could go and try and counter that with legislation.
Well, you could amend it, make an amendment for the Inland Empire or whatever the heat indexes are across the state, which would be for everybody, right? So just moving the thought forward. And then, I don't know if this is an unfair question or not. So if we're focusing on water loss, what are our current water loss percentages? Do we have an estimate of what that is right now? And what is our ultimate target of
Yeah, we track
that?
water loss. Our water loss is really low. So, where some agencies, they might have a 10% water loss and they can knock it down to 8%. with a couple of projects or a pipeline replacement or meter replacement. Remember, we've already replaced meters. That's one of the big culprits in water loss is that the meter isn't recording water use,
Right.
so it counts as loss
Right.
because you didn't get revenue for it. So we've already replaced all of our meters. So we've lost that tool. We're very tight, engineering term, operations term, in our system, so our water loss is really low. So we don't really have that mechanism to turn down more where other agencies will.
Right, no, and that's kind of what my concern is like if we're going for a 0.5% or 1% or something, is that really gonna move the needle where we need to go?
No.
Okay, no,
No, that's why
Not
we're,
on its
we,
own.
we're
Yeah.
we're working with Michelle, and this is why she's made 3 presentations to the executive team, because every time we come back and say, wait a minute, there's gotta be other answers, and we're being very, very creative in how we wanna meet the goals or the requirements of the regulation. And so we're gonna probably have a more creative path to compliance than just specifically meeting these, because you don't have to meet these numbers exactly. It all comes together with an overall water budget for the
Right.
agency that we have
Right.
to meet. So I think we're gonna probe really hard to look at, I don't wanna say easier, but maybe less impactful compliance measures. And so personally, I'm like, well, outdoor commercial water use that's probably low-hanging fruit. And that's probably something that all the voters and our residents aren't gonna feel any impact. Commercial will, but commercial wants to use less water anyway, because they're just paying for it, and they're just trying to look nice for the neighborhood.
right,
And so I think they're very open to using less water. So for me, that is an easy first step to go
Right.
there.
No,
And then
for sure.
outdoor residential. You know, we gotta get people, you know, sorry, squirrel, but when I spoke at Mission Grove last week, the gentleman came up to me, he said, oh my gosh, my water bill's so high. Is there anything that you can do? And I said, well, if you called us to get a free analysis of your yard. And he said, no, I haven't done that. And I said, well, do you have a big yard? He says, yeah, I have 1.4 acres and I've got turf all over it and I'm
Wow.
irrigating it all and I
Wow.
pay over $600 a month in a water bill.
wow,
And I'm like, yeah, an acre, almost an acre and a half of turf is not very good in Riverside. You should probably have our experts come out and see if you can replace that with more water efficient things. So there's a lot of people like that
Right.
we can hopefully help and save them money and move towards a compliance measurement. But we actually get harmed in this by all of our good work that we've been doing since 2010. The fact that, you know, Tim and the team enacted budget-based rates
Yeah.
way back in 2010. It cut our per capita water use in half.
yeah,
So we already did that. There's a lot of agencies that don't have anything. So they're gonna do things like that, and they're gonna go, hey, this was pretty easy. Well, we've already been doing that for 10 years.
no credit, huh?
No
Right,
credit.
No credit, exactly.
And that's our
No
argument when we
credit
write our
goes
letters.
we were in
unpunished.
compliance.
Yeah, no, yeah,
Early adopters got no credit
Right.
for all the good work that they've done. And remember, we saw the same thing when there was a Sacramento mandate that said everyone's gonna conserve 25% regardless of what you're doing or where you are. And we're like, well, wait a minute, we already cut 50%.
right.
So anyway, we have to figure out how to make it work, because it's
So-
a requirement.
So to your point, Craig, on the creative side, right? I know that you guys are going to start really thinking about stuff. And to what Director Torres's comment was, you know, it's 25% is like losing a person in your house, right? And how are we going to make all that work? So, you know, really it's going to be about what are we going to show the residential customer that they can do that will bring them to that spot? What kind of creativity are you going to come up with? Are you going to come up with, if you design and redo a portion of your yard in a square footage plot, is that going to take you there? I mean, however it is, because that's what people want. They want to be in compliance, but they don't know how to do it. And you tell them, hey, take 5-minute showers. Well, if they got a teenager in the house, what's the likelihood of that? I mean,
They've got a
it's,
Gracie Torres
you
in their
know,
house.
you know? So,
I think
so,
Director Torres has the answer, just kick the teenagers out.
just kick the teenagers out, just lose the 25%, yeah. No, but I mean, really, that's what it is. It's, you guys need to think about what kind of video or what kind of demonstration or what kind of information can you put forward to the residential user that really wants to comply, what that looks like.
Well, let me ask Sarah,
So.
because Sarah spends a lot of time planning for this.
Yeah, I'm happy to chime in. I think the board can feel really proud and confident that we have been so proactive in these activities, because what it's allowing us to do is actually have that time to prepare our community through outreach, education, and ongoing water use efficiency programs. Because we're already in compliance, we have that, which is why you haven't heard us really changing that messaging yet, because we needed to understand where do we stand today, what do we need to ask from customers today versus 3 years from now. Unlike some of our neighbors who might be having to request actions now, we're not in that place, so it does give us time to develop strategic, well-informed programs that also include one-to-one engagements through our community groups. It includes our ongoing presence through other community activities and support through our whole water use efficiency program, ongoing commitments with master gardeners, things like that. But in the long run, eventually it will come to the outdoor water usage and how we can continue to support and help our customers adjust their lifestyles through those sorts of conservation steps.
No, and just because of something you said, going off on Craig's squirrel, the conservation garden that we're getting ready to partner and do with March Air Museum, signage might be really important over there, and how people can then try to mimic what it is that we do. This garden saves you, or is this much water usage versus what you would have done with just grass or whatever. So might be some creative signage too that we can come up with, because there's supposed to be a huge tourism, a visitor increase, right? And it may not hit direct customers here, but I mean, overall, it might be a really good message point for us to be able to show. So just, going off on that little squirrel in the conversation, because it's something that we all get hit up with as we walk around in the community, right? How do you guys expect us to do that? So we've got to come up with the good answer of, oh yeah, did you go and watch this video? Or whatever it is. That we can channel people back to say, this is actually what you can do.
Gotcha.
So,
Good. Thank you.
So I have a quick question. And I haven't even seen Santa Margarita River's permit in years, but there was, from my understanding at the time, Temecula and or Murrieta had established a prohibition in overwatering, irrigation. I at the time, I think Rancho Cucamonga, Rancho Water District was really involved in that. I mean, it may be worth taking a look at if that prohibition would have been helpful or would be helpful. I mean, look, I don't live in either of those cities, so I water how I can, but I know that, it wasn't tied to this. It was tied to stormwater management.
Runoff.
Right. And
TMDLs.
Right, TMDLs and the lagoon, saving the lagoon and all of that. But, and so I don't know if that's still the case, what's going on there. But it might be worth taking a look at how Rancho California would have managed, or where they would be based on that prohibition. And it was one with enforcement, from my understanding. And I don't know as much. Yeah, I haven't seen it in a while. So, like me personally, worked on it. So I just know that prohibition happened in two cities that are retail customers. So they're dealing with this directly, but for a different reason, right? And so I'm guessing that in some way we're aligning in our missions for different reasons, but and same regulatory boards that want to make things hard on us. So
Well, for sure, overwatering is a big issue, and we're pretty active on that. And we do get complaints from neighbors for their neighbor that's overwatering. And we do go out and we will talk to those neighbors. We'll put door hangers, we'll offer programs to try and help them. Sometimes they don't want help, so we do what we can. But you'll recall during the drought, it really got pretty intense. I mean, because customers are like, oh, wait, there's a drought. That person's wasting water. That's water I can't have someday. So they really started calling our hotline. So, yeah, we may be there again at some point, yeah.
So I'm sorry, but I have another question. So this is pertaining to mainly to our direct customers, right? So when agencies within our service area, I'm just going to say JCSD as an example, I'm assuming they're working on their own set of reductions. Does that help? Do we get any points for that? Do we get any benefit from our agencies within our service area conserving?
We demonstrate regional leadership, which is one of our strategic priorities.
But
But
that-
like I
there-
say that kind of cheeky, but it is.
But
Like,
it
we
could
don't
be
get credit for that.
detrimental when you take a look at a city like Riverside that does absolutely no conservation, right? And so you don't want to pick up, you might pick up like gems like Harupa's doing a great job, but you don't want to pick up a different city that is not complying.
Okay,
Yeah.
because we don't have any direct control over that.
Right. So like it might be beneficial, yeah, if we were like, hey, do we get credit because JCSD is doing a great job, but you don't want to pick up a different
Yeah,
area that isn't doing compliance.
Our compliance point, I was just confirming with Tim, it'll be our retail.
Yeah,
use,
it's retail.
Not our wholesale. Every retailer has the same requirements that we have. So
Okay.
Michelle and her team does a really good job of informing all of our retailers and sharing programs and steering them towards our programs and MET programs for funding and other things. That's how we help. We also, at the last general manager meeting, Michelle did an update on what all these requirements, a very similar presentation to what you saw today, to make sure that all of our retail agencies know what's coming. We don't want anyone to not be informed. And so there are a lot of questions, and they're paying attention very closely because they feel the same stress that we do, that this is going to be really hard to achieve in the Inland Empire.
Okay.
And item 6C that this board approved today is for $180,000 in regional funding for Arupa,
I
Riverside,
saw that, yeah.
Rubidoux, Rancho, and any of the retail agencies that would like to participate. So
Okay. And I'm sorry, just to clarify, so this is residential and commercial
In our service.
in our, okay,
Retail service area.
in our retail. Oh, in our retail, okay. Okay, awesome, all right, thank you. This was a receive and file, right?
But we do have a motion.
Oh,
Was
we
there ever
didn't
a
have the
second, Tammy?
motion yet.
I
I'll
will
make a
second.
second. Okay, go ahead, Mike.
Either way.
Okay, whenever you're ready.
Aye.
Director Torres?
Yes.
Director Dinstedt?
Aye.
Director Risby?
Aye.
President Roten?
Yes,
Thank you. The motion carries 5-0.
okay, thank you. We'll move on to reports. Mr. General Counsel, do we have a report today?
Good morning, Madam President, members of the board. I do not have a report for you.
Okay, thank you. And moving to general manager and staff reports.
Sure.
Mr. Miller.
Let me highlight a really collaborative project that we just finished. So the Mills Gravity Line, we had to replace an isolation valve. So a valve that closes the pipeline off so you can do repairs. I don't know if you remember, but several years ago, we had to repair the Mills Gravity Line. We had a very hard time getting these big valves to close completely so we could dewater the line so we could do the repair. This was one of the valves that wouldn't close. So it's a 48-inch valve. That's a big valve. So in order to do that, you have to coordinate with everyone that takes Mills Gravity Line water because it was a 7-day shutdown on the Mills Gravity Line. So that's Corona, Temescal, Elsinore are all taking water off of that. So took us a while to get the engineering analysis. The board approved the budget. We had to go back to the board because once we opened it up, we figured out that the pipe was sagging. So we had to go back and award another contract to fix the pipe and improve the area so the valve would work. Our staff coordinated with Corona, Elsinore, Temescal. Thank goodness Elsinore and Corona have groundwater, so they were able to get off the system and shift to groundwater, so that was good.
What caused the sagging?
Probably poor compaction at the time of construction.
Okay.
The other thing that was really interesting is, you know, we talk a lot about the Sterling pump station and the desalters down there and the ability to tie all that together. So we were able to shift demands to that whole system down there to get off of the Mills gravity line. So we're able to use that facility. Our team worked really well together, actually ended up finishing the 7-day shutdown in 6 days. And, you know, I think they just did a fabulous job. And it was a very complicated project, not just with the contractor, with the pipeline, but with all the other agencies that had to play nicely together to make sure that customers never knew this was going on. So congratulations to our team. Good job, great job, ops. So very successful. Another big thing that happened in the state is Sites Reservoir got a California Department of Fish and Wildlife incidental take permit. So, sorry, DCP, incidental take permit. Sorry, got to get on the right project. That means that
DCP.
they can construct the project, and what it does is it tells them that they're allowed to basically impact the environment like they said they were going to, and the permit actually gives them the ability to disturb or take endangered species along the way. So there's a long evaluation that says, you know, you can do that project, and we understand, the state is saying this, we understand, Department of Fish and Wildlife, that there's going to be impacts during the project, and there may be some fish or birds that are impacted during the project, and that's okay. We can accommodate that. So that was really big news. Then a few of my activities, as you know, we had our first board rate workshop. We have a video of that. It's posted on the website. So if anyone wants to go back and relive all those exciting slides, they can go back and look at those. February 10th, I went up and met with, I think, 7 Metropolitan general managers to talk about key issues at Metropolitan, mostly revolve around the business plan. So that was great. We met with Desert Water Agency just to have an introduction of staff, share some things that we're doing, some things that they're doing, so that was really good. The business model water resources subgroup met last week on February 12th, so I participated in that. That's where we're trying to figure out a program to allow agencies to exchange water back and forth. It's not Met water, so that's a very interesting discussion. Also on February 12th, I presented to the Mission Grove Neighborhood Association, about, I don't know, 60 or 70 attendees there, so very well attended. On the 13th, I had a meeting with Assembly Member Diane Pappen. She is very important to us because she is the chair of Water Parks and Wildlife Committee. So our bill, SB 72, will go through that committee. Most likely, it hasn't been assigned there yet. After it gets out of the Senate and goes to the Assembly, it will be in front of her. So we met with her and the committee consultant. It passed her committee unanimously last year. And so we wanted to share that it's going to be back, and we've made a few minor improvements. And so she asked a couple of questions, and I think is rock solid support for the bill when it gets there. And then yesterday, had a really great conversation with Chief Malloy from Murrieta. We had talked during the Palisades fire, because we were trying to make sure that we were coordinating messages about firefighting and water systems and all that. He very well understands the capacity to fight fires with a domestic water system and knows that fighting a wildfire is not happening. But we just wanted to touch base and make sure that we were saying the same thing. And so that was great. But in that meeting, we talked about statewide water supply, and he really expressed an interest in statewide water supply. And so I said, well, we would love to get your support for SB 72. And he said, well, I can do even better than that maybe, is I'm the incoming president of the Statewide Fire Chiefs Association.
Nice.
And so I'd like to talk with you about that. So we met yesterday to talk with him about getting the statewide fire chiefs' support for the legislation. So he's going to take that to his ledge committee now and try and get support. So he's asked me to participate at the ledge committee. So getting the firefighters is a really good thing for a water bill. So
And sounds like he would be an excellent candidate to invite on our next tour with Met.
okay.
Put him on the
We'll
list.
put a note on that. And that concludes my updates unless there's questions.
Any questions? Okay, thank you. And now we will have a water supply conditions update from Josh Aguilar.
Good morning, President Roden, members of the board. It's great to see everyone. We did have a little bit of rain in the last couple of weeks, so I'm happy to provide this month's update. And you'll see a little bit of better numbers here. So we'll jump right in. Beginning with, beginning with February snow survey from Phillips Station, taken on January 31st. You see here a really nice picture. Unfortunately, it did indicate that extremely dry conditions in January had impacted the early snowpack, recording about 65% of average for that time. Again, this is a few weeks ago now. DWR saw significant regional differences between Northern California and Southern California, and we saw that last month as well. According to DWR, despite these challenges, effective water management has helped keep the statewide reservoirs near or above average. This highlights the importance of ongoing water management and storage strategies, which we'll see in today's update. As of just a few days ago, overall hydrologic conditions remain near normal levels. Specifically, Northern Sierra precipitation is about 30% over normal, and snowpack is about 12% over normal. The statewide snowpack is back near about 96%, so reaching that average again. The upper Colorado River Basin is still tracking about average. So across the board, we're seeing average hydrologic conditions as we enter the later months of the season. As for our local watersheds, though a bit late start to the season, we finally received some rain, as you all saw. If you recall last month's water supply update, all three watersheds added up to less than 1 inch in precipitation. Although not quite average yet, as of Sunday, precipitation levels in our watersheds now combined to over 15 inches. So not quite where we want to be, but far better than last month, thanks to the recent rain. Turning to our local reservoirs, as of yesterday, we see some improved storage levels as well. Lake Matthews is at 85% of capacity, holding over 150,000 acre feet. Diamond Valley Lake is near capacity at 98% full with over 790,000 acre feet. Seven Oaks Dam is at over 6,000 acre feet behind the dam, and Prado Dam now has some water with over 14,000 acre feet. So compared to last month's levels, all have seen increases. As a reminder, our water storage initiative is also in progress. We currently have over 8,000 acre feet in storage, almost reaching 40% of our goal, with $6.7 million invested of the $20 million authority that we have. These figures and the various partner agencies shown at the top highlight the steady progress and also underscore the continued investments to meet our long-term storage targets. On January 28th, the Department of Water Resources announced an update to the State Water Project allocation forecast for 2025, increasing the allocation to 20%, up from 15% in December. These increases reflect the state's water management efforts, snowpack, healthy reservoir storage, and other factors. As we see on the right-hand side, all but one of the state's major reservoirs are above average. We also see a picture of Lake Orville, which is 133% of average, or nearly 2.9 million acre feet. Although we saw a slight increase in the allocation, MWD is reviewing past conditions and looking at ways to enhance their water management, including preserving carryover supplies, preserving flexible storage, and maintaining Diamond Valley Lake full. MWD will use a number of operating strategies to continue positioning themselves to meet demands throughout the service area. This slide shows a snapshot of the current and last year levels of one of the key reservoirs, San Luis Reservoir. In the middle, in blue, you'll see last year's level throughout the year. In orange at the left, we see the current level of over 900,000 acre feet, which is a healthy level, especially considering last year's level was less than half of that at this time. Arriving at our last slide, MWD's supply and demand balance, starting from the bottom up with the currently estimated Colorado River supplies at about 780,000. We then add the 20% State Water Project allocation of 380,000 acre feet, making the current estimated supply of 1.16 million acre feet. The demand on Metropolitan, shown at the top, is currently estimated at 1.45 million acre feet for calendar year 2025. That results in a supply and demand gap of approximately 289,000 acre feet. However, should supplies remain at current levels, Metropolitan has sufficient storage available to satisfy the potential gap. So in summary, reservoirs are in good shape statewide. With the current 20% allocation, MWD can utilize the water available as well as satisfy demands with some storage. And it'd be great to see more wet weather, so next month we can hopefully see another allocation upgrade. With that, I'll be happy to take any questions.
Any questions?
Not a question, but Josh, you have some new slides in this presentation that I found really valuable.
Oh.
So the new things that you've added, I think are really beneficial.
Glad to
So
hear
thank
that. We'll continue to try to mix up some slides as we see them come through.
I have a general question, I guess. So I follow a particular Facebook page, and when I'm on Facebook, I try to have a balanced outlook at what I'm reading and to, I don't even know if I want to say trust, but verify, but certainly verify. So the 20%, I mean, I understand there's 100% allocation is what everyone would love, and I think we finally did get that in that one super wet year. Yeah. So when it says 20%, what does that say to the farmers? Does that mean whatever allocation that they are entitled to, I guess by law, they're only getting 20% of that water? Is that basically what that means?
By contract, not by law, by contract. So the 20% is the state water contractor's allocation. So if you're one of
Okay.
the 22 contractors, is that right? Good guess. 22 state contractors, Metropolitan's the biggest, they're like half. So every contractor gets the 20% right now. And so, yeah, they have to have a water plan. Some are totally dependent on State Water Project and others have groundwater supplies. So this wouldn't have anything to do with their groundwater supplies. But where the Central Valley is really stuck in a bind is Sigma has said you can't overpump groundwater. So in a 20% allocation, if they're trying to balance surface water out of the 20% with groundwater, now they have a law that says you can't overpump out of the basin. So if 20% doesn't provide them enough water, they need a higher allocation, or something's going to happen. They're going to have to foul land or do something else. And so there's a lot of farmers that are stuck in this bind of we can't overpump, but we can't get the allocation that we think we need. So now what do we do? And so that's the real rub. I'm pretty confident the allocation is going to go up above 20 because it's been such a wet month, and the reservoirs are in really good shape. For me, this is SB 72. It's like, if all the reservoirs are full, why do we only have a 20% allocation?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. You start low because you don't know if it's going to be wet.
Sure.
Now it's wet, and the reservoirs are full, and the snowpack's above average. Why don't we have a 50% allocation? I don't know. This is where the state board has to be very, very conservative, and they're still feeling the pressure of a couple years ago because they ran out of water, right? They had to have a zero allocation, and they don't want to be in that position ever again.
Yeah.
So they're going to really be conservative now, and that's what we're seeing. But at Met, everyone's talking, well, what do you think it'll end up at? Because Met's still a little bit short. Josh was talking about
290,000 acre feet.
290,000 shortage, but if they can get to a 30% allocation, that disappears. So most of the talk at Met is, we'll probably get 230 or maybe above 30. So Met will at least be able to balance and not have to take water out of storage to meet their demands.
And what about, and I don't know, these are maybe too big of questions for today, but all this, almost daily, I see a chart of how many acre feet went out under the Golden Gate, out into the ocean. And, you know, that, and of course, opinions are all over the place. They shouldn't have had to send that much. So say in a perfect world, if they hadn't sent it out under the Golden Gate, where would it go?
Well, they had to release because they were very quickly approaching their maximum storage level during the winter. Because they know through experience, you know, that they have to keep capacity for a wet March, a wet April, wet May.
Sure.
And that's why the spillway basically crumbled years ago. They almost topped Oroville because it was wetter than the maximum predicted storm. So remember, that's still fresh in DWR's memory.
Oh, yeah.
And so they're like, well, they released water all through, I don't know how long, but through February, I think they're releasing water, trying to evacuate storage space. So we would strongly advocate that that water could have been released from Oroville and sent to another dam. It should have been put in a sites reservoir, or 2 sites reservoirs, or 3 sites reservoirs, and not allowed to escape. Those are the storms that we need a more sophisticated system that can capture for dry periods, because you know, we're gonna have a long dry period. It's coming, guarantee it.
Yeah.
I don't know when we're gonna have it, but it is coming.
Okay.
In case you need it, but that's the answer, is we have nowhere to put it.
Okay.
That's why it gets released. I mean, because people, they ask all the time, they're dumping the water in the ocean.
Right.
I totally agree, that sucks, but there's nowhere for it to go otherwise.
And I think that's what I'm not seeing in the conversation. Occasionally, yes.
Yeah,
But most people are just complaining about how much is going out,
Right.
you know, to the ocean, and not really.
Way too much, but we need money and infrastructure, we need
'Cause we
way
don't
more
have
money.
anywhere to
We don't
put
have the
it.
infrastructure.
Yeah, so those same people that are complaining about what they think is not a smart plan to release it to the ocean.
Right.
Are the same people that should be advocating that we support investment
projects.
in the water system, and we're willing to pay money, tax money, water rate money to build these reservoirs.
Yeah.
Because they just don't spring out of nowhere. It takes investment. So
time.
you
It
can't
takes
have it both
investment,
ways.
And it takes faster permitting.
Yes.
Permitting is a great.
Yeah, if you could have all the investment in the world, all the money in the world, if you're being locked in by 14, 15 years of permitting, again, the water is going to keep going back out the ocean. Yeah. So it's a lot.
And one last kind of related. So I hear about flood irrigation, the importance of what used to be flood irrigation in the Central Valley, because that helps to bring the groundwater
Yes.
up. So why isn't some of this water going to that?
Well, that's complicated. So the farmers that would flood irrigate have to be prepared to do that in a storm. They have to have the ability to divert it off of the river. They have to have maybe the water rights permit to do that. So Governor Newsom issued an executive order that said, hey, everyone needs to do everything they can to capture these storms that we just went through. Okay, well, that's really nice that you said that.
It's nice.
But we didn't build the facilities to
Yeah.
do that. So just saying it on a piece of paper
Right.
is we got to put our money where our mouth is.
Yeah.
You know, we have to be in a position, you have to prepare for that. So you got to do what Western and Valley District are doing by building recharge basins, and we're going to a ribbon cutting tomorrow. So we're doing that so we can actually recharge water in big storms. The whole state needs to do that.
Yeah.
And that's the big issue. And so, you know, SB 72 and our outreach campaigns for SB 72 is about getting to those Facebook participators and say, you just can't complain about releasing water. You should be complaining that everyone's not investing in our water system.
Yeah, okay. Oh, well, thank you.
And you should be willing to invest. So you can reply next time.
Yes, I feel
Agree with you.
confident.
Are you going to support investment by the state
I like
and
that, I like
advocacy at the state to build reservoirs to hold that water.
I look forward to seeing Laura just fight on Facebook.
No, I'm gonna try to educate, not, not fight, but we'll see. Well, thank you, I appreciate the time spent on that, because it is, well, it's super important, but it's also, it's complicated and, you know, yeah, I don't need to say anything else. Anyway, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That was a great report.
Awesome, just stands.
Okay, so let's see, I lost my place here. Moving into, we're finished with general manager? Okay.
We're ready for directors.
Move into directors' reports and requests. SAPA?
Hey, SAPA did meet yesterday. Pretty routine. They changed the OWOW governance document to include the San Bernardino Association of, rename San Bernardino Association of Governments, SANBAG, to the San Bernardino Council of Governments, SBCOG, because they changed their name. So, whoopee. They did vote to issue a contract for not to exceed $620,000 to Woodard and Curran for a series of tasks to negotiate the scope and fee proposal to develop the Santa Ana River Watershed Climate Adaptation and Resilience Plan.
Wow.
Yes. The carp part sounds fishy to me, but comes out of Sacramento, what can you say? And the last part was SAPA has approved some security upgrades and accessibility upgrades to their headquarters building. That's going to be beginning soon. The restrooms will be dismantled and rebuilt. The lobby is going to have construction equipment in it and in front of it. So they reached out to member agencies to find locations to hold SAPA meetings. Western has volunteered to host the first one in April. So if there's a SAPA meeting in April, it'll be here. After that, they're looking at going to IEUA, but there's open to other locations. They're looking for ones that are somewhat central for the participating agencies. And Western is probably the best of those. So,
Well, we are the best, but.
well, but of course. And we have such nice facilities as soon as we control the climate.
Right?
And that was it for SAPA.
Okay, thank you. Matt?
Metropolitan, we did meet last week, and, you know, for a very robust meetings over the, we'll call it that, robust meetings over the last couple of months, this was a very easy, no controversial meeting, which was kind of a nice change. And I have to say that the board has really come together, and everyone is really very happy with Devin Apatier as being the general manager. So that's been expressed by staff certainly at Met, and I'm sure that the general managers from the member agencies are really excited about that as well. There have been a number of well-received comments in regard to him being at the helm, so good about that. One thing I will note, there was some comments that were made about cybersecurity and some IT upgrades that are going to be going on and things, so I hope our team is, you know, in touch with all those folks to see what Met's doing to protect all of the information that's stored in-house and all of the things that come with it. You know, cyber has just been one of those areas that I just, you know, I don't really have a huge understanding about how these attacks come on and how you prevent them and how you do all these things, but a significant amount of investment is going to go into it, and it's going to be a long process to do that upgrade. So, so good for that. And then the other thing too, just to piggyback on some of the stuff that we talked about and the partnerships that we do with Met for the WaterWise information, the programs to support our customers and the things. There was also approved 3-year agreement for a consultant to come in to support that program, not to exceed $200,000 a year. So, ongoing efforts from Met to support member agencies and to support all of the residential stuff that goes on with WaterWise. So, and those are just some of the highlights. And you have a full, complete summary of the meeting in your packet available on the dais. That's all I have to report.
Thank you. Mike, Chino Basin?
Chino Basin meets next week.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, and then CDA, I do have a brief report on that. Yeah, it was a relatively short meeting. We did a reconciliation of the allocation of costs for the fiscal year. And I always find this interesting. So of the, I guess I'm going to call it overpayment, because I think it's estimated what our costs are going to be, and then each agency pays
The reconciliation.
their, yeah, so this is the reconciliation. So 5 million of the surplus is going into the capital expenditure reserve program, which we have done that. I think this is the 3rd year. I apologize, I don't remember, but it's really shoring up that account for future projects that we will need it for eventually. And then the balance over and above that, $3,483,150 goes back to the agencies if they can either receive it back or put it toward next year's payments. And so I was told that we would be asked that question. And so there was a cost of living adjustment for all the employees, 3%. They changed their benefit package a little bit on the retirement contribution rate for full-time employees from 20% to 25%, starting in 2025. And they reclassified a vacant part-time position in accounting, and it's going to be going forward as a full-time position, which from the staff report sounded extremely warranted. The agency's grown that much to be able to have a full-time person with their eyes on it all the time is going to be good. And I think that was it. Tentatively scheduled for March 12th. We have a new board member from Chino Hills. Chino Hills. And
Chino, I think.
from Chino.
I believe so.
And they're going to offer a tour of the DeSalters. So that, I think it's confirmed for March 12th, and then as I was leaving the meeting, the director of CTA, Tom, asked me if I was still interested. Way back when I got on this board, we were trying to set up sort of a orientation meeting for CDA, and long story short, it just never came together. So he said that they have actually developed about a 1.5-hour kind of CDA 101. So I said, absolutely. So I've sent him a couple dates for that. So I'll be able to just learn a little more in depth about CDA. And I think that was it for CDA. So RCRA, that's tomorrow. Okay.
Tomorrow, and SORA was supposed to meet, but they canceled their quarterly meeting.
Surprise. Okay, and WRCOG.
Yeah, WRCOG. So just a highlight, we had our meeting, and I reported it last one, but we do have a Women's History program that's going to be hosted by WRCOG. It will be here in this building on March the 13th, starting at 9 o'clock. We had to move it from the training room because it got sold out, and we had a waiting list, so we needed to move it to a bigger venue. So super excited about hosting that here and having those conversations. So everyone is welcome to join. That is a free event, so looking forward to that. And it will be followed with a luncheon. And then, obviously, General Assembly is coming up on June the 12th. Really excited about Admiral McRaven coming in and having a conversation. He had a new book that he released, Conquering Crisis, that came out, I think, in January. And so I haven't got my copy yet, so I need to order that. But he's got several books that he's written. First one, Honor Code, Make Your Bed, The Wisdom of the Bullfrog, and then this one. So along with some short stories and some things that he's compiled. But very interesting individual. I'm really looking forward to this General Assembly to hear what he has to say and the history of his career. You know, he is a 4-star admiral, and so it's not a small achievement. This is obviously going to be our first time as water being the chair and sitting there. So, you know, it's kind of nice that we have a water speaker coming in that spent his career Navy. And so, you know, really looking forward to having a couple of conversations with staff. I'd really like to put our Western flair on this and put some of a little bit of a signature of Western doing this for the first time, since we're the first water agency that's been able to be chair on this event for GA. So I'd really like to put something. So anybody has any suggestions, I'm certainly open to that. We need to do it quickly so that we can put that out there and get the idea launched, and really would like to just see something come together on that for us. So,
Is it Craven? Is it K-R-A-V?
McRaven.
Oh, McRaven.
Yes, McRaven. So,
Thank you.
okay. And I think that is all I have for WRCOG.
About Aqua? Anything?
Aqua, so next week is DC's conference, and I will be attending that. So it's going to be really cold weather back there, so I'm not looking forward to that part because it was really mild last year. So I should have more to report on that. And then obviously we have conference comes up in May up in Monterey. So hopefully you've put that on your calendars to attend that conference. And then we should have a program that comes out for April, the month before, so I will give you more information on that at next meeting. That's all I have for that.
All right, we'll move to director's comments. Director Torres?
I don't have anything.
You're good? Okay. Director Rissy?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm sorry, Vice President Rissy.
Okay, thank you, no.
All
no
right.
comments.
Director Denstead?
Yeah, just 2 comments, and I had some thought after the Finance Committee meeting and something that the general manager had said that kind of sent me down this. You know, he made a comment about you talked with folks at the Mission Grove Association, and there were some questions about different things and different financing mechanisms and rates and the whole gamut of things. And you mentioned that we do put information items on our agenda and our packet, and occasionally we do have our finance folks that come in from Chandler and talk about our financial report and everything. You know, it might be really nice to have our CFO, who is not here today.
He's with other CFOs.
Yeah, no, and that's good. But it might be really nice to have our CFO just make a comment. Like I noticed today, you know, just for a highlight instance, our budget versus actual report that comes out in November, you know. Just to do some highlights of that and show people that we're on track, that we do consciously think about those things, and just to put it out at our general meeting for a quick blurb. So I just kind of wanted to launch that out in the universe to go along with our goal of being transparent and being able to share information and to talk about what a good story that we have and how much effort and energy and thought we put into the things that we do, especially in our financials. So just kind of wanted to put that out there. And then the other thing, too, I don't know if this is even possible because I think it's going to conflict with march and the air show and everything else. But, and I hope that when you went down to talk to the fire chief in Marietta, he talked about the Fireman's Barbecue. That's coming up that same weekend, and it's on April the 12th, so I don't know if we have staffing abilities to be able to do that, but I suspect that because of everything that's gone out there in the environment, this is a hugely attended event down in Marietta for the Fireman's Barbecue, and they do it now in the historic downtown park area because the venue is so large and so many people attend. So just kind of wanted to put that on our radar if we don't have that on our radar, to be able to be a participant in that and support those efforts and have the conversation, so. Okay, and that is my comments, thank you.
Okay, Director Gardner?
It was nice to see a little bit of rain.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
For sure.
That's it.
Hopefully we'll get more, and that's it.
Okay, and I just have one, I attended the, I don't know, I guess you call it webinar that Western puts on with the Master Gardeners. It was on February 8th, Saturday. It's usually, I think, the first Saturday of the month not during the summer. And this one was very timely. I don't know if it had been planned and it just happened to land at this time, but it was about hardening your home and your landscaping against fire. And my husband and I have procrastinated redoing our front yard, which I have a very small yard, but finally got the big tree taken out because it was ruining our driveway. But we haven't gone any further. And now I'm like, well, now, see, I'm glad I waited because I can hopefully incorporate some of the things that were mentioned. And I highly recommend going back, and I think we put those up on our website. And it was very interesting. And the gal that was the main presenter, she lives on, I want to say she has an acre in Yucaipa. So she does have a larger lot, whereas I'm on a tract home. But I'm listening to things like, you know, the first zone around your house is 5 feet. And I'm thinking, okay, I barely have 5 feet to my fence, which is wood, and things like that. So it really got me thinking. And she talked not only about the plants and what you can do in each of those zones, but your home itself. And there were questions about like boxing your eaves. And after these last fires especially, it really had an impact on me. I thought it was very well done. So I try to tune in. I think the next one is on tomatoes. So that's always a good one, except for some reason we don't seem to be able to grow them. But maybe I'll learn something. So I just wanted to mention that I logged on to that. So do we have any requests for future agenda items? Other than, Brenda, you kind of mentioned your...
Just kind of, yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny that you would mention that today specifically because I was thumbing through those a little more carefully than I sometimes do. And I think at least on one of them I wrote, need translation. So good request on that. That was a note to self.
Yes,
But I shared it. So we do have those information items, 10, A, B, and C. And our next meeting is Wednesday, March 5th at 9:30 right here. And if there is nothing else, we will adjourn at 11:07.